Okay, John, panhandling, please stop. Oh, did you get an email from Tracy? Oh, okay.
I got a call from her.
Yeah, she was gonna send you an email.
I didn't see it.
Okay.
Do you have enough?
Probably got busy. Okay.
You ready to put a damper on my summer job?
Doesn't apply to council members.
Oh.
The police department's been getting not just complaints from a business owner. We've had complaints about panhandlers around frontage in Ellington, all the way over to the on and off ramps to the freeways. And we've documented some of that. I had an officer go talk with Tracy because she had people actually using her facility, the bathrooms, and some of the panhandlers were trespassing, and we have nothing in the ordinance for when an officer goes out and contacts these people. And I believe we should have something so that even if they're not trespassing, they obstruct traffic especially during rush hour on the off ramps. And it's a state patrol issue, but it's in a city Pacific, and I think we need to have a ordinance in place to enforce this refers to panhandling and begging, but it is becoming an issue. This first ordinance is Auburn's. I thought that of the ordinance that I reviewed, this was the best. It would be tailored more toward the civic. The second ordinance is Renton's. And so I bring this to the committee, just give you an idea of what we could do by way of an ordinance, and the officers would be able to enforce, even if it's on the public roadway or right of way, or if it's on private property. We could take care of that with an ordinance such as this.
Well, here's my question. This morning Tracy called me to fill me in a little bit on what's going on in her area. And the way she explained it to me is there's one person in particular who walks with a cane and does not walk on the designated pathways, sidewalks, or what have you. She climbs over walls, short retaining walls or whatnot, and her big fear is that this lady is going to get injured and hit her with a lawsuit, which I completely understand. And she has asked this lady several times, if you must please use the pathways or who have you what. She comes in, she uses her restroom. She doesn't really have an issue with that. Her big issue with her is the fact that she's trespassing. I don't know, I guess it would be trespassing, and going in such an area where she could hurt herself. And she's afraid of having a lawsuit brought against her. The other one is she says that she has a couple of them that come in, and she said one of them, she walked in and they were laying across the table, taking a nap inside her restaurant.
Yeah, I think that she could have them trespass. I think, and I told her that we would do that.
Did she tell you that same story?
No, but I know that we could have these people trespass.
Right.
It's the people that are not in the businesses that, because we can always trespass them. It's the ones that are out on the street.
Well, she said she had issues with a couple of them on the street coming into her business. She noticed they're standing outside with their will work for food sign, and then she notices in her parking lot, all of a sudden your car will be told by this company sign is missing, and that's what they wrote their message on. They pulled her sign down, wrote their note on the other side, and she doesn't know how to deal with it.
First thing we need to do is get an ordinance, because it's not just on Tracy's property.
Right, she
property.
said the ARCO and the
And I
hotel have a problem with it as well.
I was coming off the off-ramp to Ellingson. It was in the morning, but there were still cars, and there was a lady standing far way out onto the roadway, and it impedes traffic.
Right.
But I didn't have the right to do anything about it, because it's state property, and we don't have an ordinance. So I just think
Right.
we can deal with private property issues, and we will. But in the meantime, we ought to, in my opinion, we should look at drafting an ordinance that would allow the officers to enforce the complaints, because now we get complaints, we can't address them.
Well, another thing too, I think we might refer this over to Human Services as well, to see what kind of programs we can steer these people to if they are actually homeless and in need.
Most of them aren't.
They're not. Okay, well, I was born on Tuesday, I'm sorry, I feel sorry for these people. I don't give them money, but I just assume they're not. They live in nice houses. That's stable, right?
The ones we've encountered, the money's not to live, it's to enjoy. Usually alcohol.
Oh, crack. Really?
Yeah, it's mostly drugs and alcohol related.
I experienced one guy at the AMP, he walked in, he had his money, said he got preload, and he bought lotto tickets, so scratch tickets with it. He was out on the side of the building scratching these tickets off, trying to double his money, I guess.
Oh. So they're not really homeless?
Oh, some of them are, and they live off the grid. We experience them all the time in my line of work. I mean, some people receiving disability checks, they just like living off the grid, don't want to pay taxes. They have their own little community, that's their own little social network. They're roughing it in the wintertime, but in the summertime, they have a little encampments, and there's a lot of alcohol being drank, and there's some drugs going on, and then a lot of it's age-related. The younger crowd are more into the drugs, the older crowd are more into the alcohol. Some are going both. I'm not saying that there aren't legitimate people in need, but I just think there are better programs available for us to assist them than to allow them to panhandle openly. I mean, I think we should visit it, maybe come up with some proposed language and legislation to add to our code.
Okay.
Just so that we have some teeth. I mean, enforcement doesn't have to be extremely strict, but it should have something there so that when it does get out of hand, it can be enforced. I think we should have, there are some programs that would meet the criteria for panhandling, like Gil Burns to do, the fire department goes out and collects money for charity. But I think that could easily be overcome by creating a permit process for people to apply for probation or something like that.
There is a city that's making panhandlers apply for permits, but I can't remember what it is offhand. It was on the news the other night.
Yeah, they can't do it, legally they can't do it.
Oh, they can't? Okay. You know what I was talking about? Okay. All right, well then, I think we should go ahead and, so should we send this to the governance committee?
Yeah, we can do it.
Can you take this back to the governance committee and, see if you guys can come up with something from these two and bring it forward? Thank you. Was that all you had on Sandra?
Yes.
You not going to teach us how to do it?
Nope.
Okay, personnel, that would be me. Back in the fall, council had approved in the budget the new officer for the police department, and one of the reasons we invited Van here tonight was so that she could speak on where we are with that.
Okay, so it is budgeted, and we will be doing that hiring right now. Originally, it was to get through the negotiation process, which we're very close to being done. And now, it's probably gonna be pushed back just a little bit more because of the grievances the union has filed against the city. I have an unfair labor practice filed against me, as well as, I think skimming by the other half of the Teamster Union, the other side of the street. And so regarding, positioning with the lieutenant. So, John and I have sat down, had several conversations, we've looked at all these claims. We feel that the city is not in the wrong, that we are handling everything as we are supposed to by the CBA, but until these things get resolved, I would rather hold off. But then, you know, the conversation that we had prior, I don't see a reason why we can't go ahead and start the process and just get some people in the queue.
Okay, by starting the process, what do you mean?
They go through the civil service process.
Okay, so now, I'm gonna ask you, let's say that we say we're gonna go out, and you've got permission or the go-ahead to go and hire your officer today. You hire him today on March 26, 2015. When is he actually feet on the street?
Well, if we opened it up, let's say next week, there's about a 3-week window before we go through a testing, a company called Public Safety Testing, and Civil Service just turned the testing over to them. So there are, say, 15 applicants in public safety testing. So Neil Bennett sends out notices, and I think they've got 3 weeks to respond. Once she has a list of who would like to come before the OR board, which is our Civil Service Commission, Olson Oral Board. So we would combine the written score from public safety testing. The public safety testing also puts them through a fitness test, physical agility test, so we don't do that anymore. But the process, before the mayor, I would see a list, put any names, it's probably about a month and a half out from the day that we open the testing.
So approximately 6 weeks from today, you would have a list of names to choose from?
And then if we select a name, they go through a series of more tests, psychological, polygraph, medical. So there's about a background, which is lengthy, so it's about another month.
Okay, hang on. Okay, then one more month. Okay,
Before we would,
before you make your selection?
right,
And then what?
so then the person would, assuming we don't have to go with an entry-level person and send them to the academy, that adds another 7 months. But if we can find a lateral person that's at the police academy, they would go to work as soon as the mayor authorizes hiring. And then they would go to a 3-month field training program assigned to an officer, so they still don't go out there. They're not on their own until they complete the field testing program.
We're looking at a year before you set somebody on the street, if we get one that doesn't need to be, if it has to go through the police academy.
Well, we're gonna try to avoid that. We've been able to in the past.
We just need to create an eligibility list.
Right.
That eligibility list is good for a year. Once we create a list, and it's there, and then when we're ready to hire, we at least eliminate that 6 weeks. I mean, that's something that I feel we should have done as soon as the position was authorized. At least the list is available, and then it's just a matter of when is the timing right to bring that person on board.
So Leanne, at this time, are you giving him authorization to get this started?
Yes, I was gonna have a conversation later, but
Oh.
it's not a problem.
Okay,
I think that's a good start.
okay.
Because more and more am I getting complaints getting complaints of speeders on Pacific, getting complaints of speeders on Butte, during the rush hour traffic, situation. The officer was budgeted, and as far as the union negotiations, should have had nothing to do with that, because there was also money budgeted in there for the possible increase in salary and back pay line item in there. So we should have had this in place before now. I'm not accepting the reasoning behind it.
Okay, does anybody have any other comments on personnel and hiring of the office? Someone, Randy?
Southside.
Any more comments or questions on personnel? Okay, John, you're up again. Sex offender.